Let me just start with any good intel you're hearing leading into National Signing Day involving the Fighting Irish.
I don't know if I'd classify it as good, but we're going to talk about what's kind of going up for the Irish ahead of National Signing Day. I will say, as Darren and I record this, when you're watching or listening to this, things could have changed. So you just got to take that into consideration. But on Monday afternoon, both On Three's Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong, who those names don't mean anything to you, they are the top insiders nationally on the recruiting scene. They're outstanding. They both log predictions for USC to land Madden Faramo, the longtime Notre Dame linebacker target from J. Sarah Catholic in Southern California. Not good, Darren. Last week I had heard, all right, Notre Dame's starting to lose some optimism. This thing seems like it's trending towards USC. But before that, for the longest time, this thing looked like it was going towards Notre Dame. So he was taking his official visit this past weekend, saw Notre Dame in person, beat up on the Trojans. But, knowing Faramo, Darren, and how long he stretched out this recruiting process, like, there was no way he was going to let that game impact what he wanted to do for the next 3-4 years, So I think the close to home factor is going to end up being a big deal for him. Well, it's not done yet, but I think the Wiltfong and Simmons predictions are kind of like a kiss of death here, especially when the kid's supposed to announce on Monday or Tuesday. So not looking very promising. Again, by the time you're listening or watching this, maybe things have changed in a worse way or a better for the Fighting Irish, but that's where things are at the time of recording this video. Looks like Notre Dame will not get Madden Faramo, the top 100 overall player from J. Sarah Catholic. Really just two names on the board that we've been talking about for the past week or two, Darren. And the Faramo's one of them. Jalen Wiggins is the other one. The Irish have been trying to flip this Florida defensive line commit, 6'4.5", 270 pounds, for a little bit now. And he was in town to see the Gators wins over Ole Miss and LSU. And I think that just really rejuvenated his commitment. He took an official visit to the Irish to see Notre Dame blow out Florida State. And this is a Tallahassee kid, so he's obviously very familiar with the Seminoles. But he saw Notre Dame blow him out. It looked pretty good after that visit. But Darren, I think I get asked this all the time, like, Mike, why is this how Notre Dame finishes classes? Well, when you're battling late with prospects who it's crunch time and they're really having a tough time picking between two schools, they love them both, but you're picking between in-state school or Notre Dame. Yeah. And oftentimes the determining factor is people in that family being like, go to in-state school. We can come see you play. For Madden Faramo, USC's the local school. For Jalen Wiggins, I think Tallahassee to Gainesville is 2.5 hours. Like, it's tough to overcome. So it looks like Notre Dame's going to go 0-2 here. But I like to remind folks that a recruiting class is more about who you signed than how you finished. Who did you sign? Would it be better for Notre Dame if they would have said, hey, Jadon Blair, Will Black, Mark Zachary, Dallas Golden, don't commit right now. Wait until National Signing Day so we can get some late buzz. That'll be better. We'll have a better recruiting class if we do that. It's not how it works. That's not reality. It doesn't matter how you finish. It doesn't. It matters about the entire class, if that makes sense, or how the entire class finishes. So, I mean, the finish matters. But you guys understand what I'm saying. And, when you draw that conclusion, Notre Dame's class right now, according to the On3 industry ranking, is the number 12 overall group. It's down one spot from 11 last year. But, it's really good at the top of the class, Darren. We'll definitely dive more into, this class as a whole in the coming interviews that we'll do the rest of this month. But, it's still a solid class that they signed impact players on both sides of the ball and at key positions. I mean, the defensive backfield got a lot better. You got a high upside receiver, a tight end in James Flanagan, who Notre Dame thinks that can play as a true freshman. You got the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, a big-time pass rusher, and you flip the quarterback from Clemson late in the cycle. So it's a really good group that Notre Dame is going to sign on Wednesday.
Normally, when Notre Dame gets a commitment from a kicker, it's like, okay. But this might be the different year. After a 27-yard field goal was missed by Mitch Jeter against USC, there's a little nervousness about place kicking in the postseason, but hopefully Notre Dame has their guy for the future.
Yeah, lots to unpack here, which usually for a kicker commitment, there's not, but there is here. First, so we just talked about Madden Frame on Jalen Wiggins in the finish. Well, Eric Schmidt, this one kind of came out of nowhere. Like, Notre Dame has been recruiting him since before Biaggi was here. Like, Brian Mason was inviting Eric Schmidt out to campus. This is a recruitment that's been happening for a long time. He has taken 5 visits to Notre Dame, but it's actually 6. He was on campus just this past weekend for an official visit. So it's my understanding that some of the recruiting staff at Notre Dame stayed back in South Bend to host Eric Schmidt while the coaching staff was in Los Angeles for the USC game. So kind of an interesting note. But so Eric Schmidt, Notre Dame gets him in the class, the nation's number 2 kicker, according to the On3 industry ranking. That's really good. Now, when I tweeted this out, right, that Eric Schmidt's coming to Notre Dame, I didn't really think it would blow up. Darren, if I open my phone up and go to Twitter, I'll probably have 50 more responses of, could he kick in the playoff game? Could he kick in the playoff game? Could he kick in the playoff game? Could we get him here next week? Could he kick in the playoff game? Guys, Mitch Jeter is a human being. He is not a stat on a piece of paper. I just don't understand why you like Mitch Jeter, whether you like it or not, Notre Dame fans, he is your kicker for the playoff run. This is the closest Notre Dame's been to a title in a while, right? This is your kicker. Love him up. Love him up on social media. Give him some confidence. We don't need to be dogging on Mitch Jeter. He is your kicker. You like it or not, dog on him next year when he's gone, but not now. But anyways, Jeter's going to be gone, so Schmidt could come in and he could be your kicker. It's not going to be handed to him. Notre Dame never does that at really any position, especially a specialist. Brian Mason to Marty Biaggi, they will bring in transfers, walk-on, scholarship, you name it. So it won't be handed to Eric Schmidt, but he's got to compete. And then in terms of how good he is, film, I don't know. I'm not a kicking guru. I just see did it go through the uprights or not. But Notre Dame feels really good about him. They've seen him in person multiple times, flipped him from Wisconsin. He also had Boston College in Missouri, Michigan, some other schools that either offered him or preferred or scholarship, whatever. But he is a scholarship take for Notre Dame, and they're excited about him.